Hi everybody, welcome to STEMy Stuff World Headquarters. I'm Ryan and this is my daughter Ayla. We are going to work together today, and this is Cedar. There's all kinds of dogs running around in the STEMy Stuff World Headquarters. We are going to work together today to make a very simple, like the simplest possible version of our kit. The electric guitar that we think that Ayla and I are going to be able to do it. Now, Ayla has never built a guitar before. Come over here. Come over here. Ayla's never built a guitar before. She is our packing lady. She does a lot of our packing of our paper products, and she's been doing that ever since she was little. So if you ever get a mistake and you're missing something, it's all Ayla's fault. We're going to build the simplest possible version of this guitar. Ayla's in 3rd grade. We don't recommend that you do this with a 3rd grade classroom, but if it was a parent and a child, I think you could probably pull this off with a 3rd grader. So this is just trying to show you how simple this is. What we're going to do right now is build our very simplest electric guitar. We're not going to use any frets, but it is going to work and it'll play at the end of it. And we're going to run this timer over here so that you get an idea of how long this actually takes in real time. Okay, go ahead, Ayla, start it. All right, so in our kit, you'll have everything you need except for a piece of wood. Now, you can use a stick out of your front yard if you want to. We recommend getting a piece of 1x2 from a lumber yard. It's not actually 1x2, it's 3/4 by 1.5. But that's the only thing that you'll need in addition to what's in the kit. So what we're going to do is, this is great for your classroom as well. We're going to leave everything that we don't need in the bag. Each kid gets a bag, and then they can keep their components in there. I don't know if anybody else has got students like mine that occasionally lose things. So there's some written instructions in here, and they are okay. They'll get you through the process. We have more deluxe ones on our website, and if you watch this video, I think you'll have a pretty good idea by the time we're done. So, Ayla, we're going to take this template that's in here. It's a full-size template, and we need a 32-inch piece of wood. We're going to lay that down on there, and we are going to put the wood on top of it. Now, hang on, get it lined up good. Okay, perfect. Now, go along, and everywhere where you see, like where that hole is right there, make a little mark on the wood right by, put it right down by the paper there. Yep, that's good. Mark each of these lines coming up the neck. These lines are where the frets would go if you were going to fret it. I don't think we're going to fret it today. I think we're just going to make it actually a classic diddly bow is what we're going to make here. It's a fretless guitar. You play by just listening and the intonation. It works good with a slide. Okay, now that we have all the spots marked, use a square. Remember how we use these? It's a funny thing to call something that's a triangle a square, isn't it? So we're going to put that on there, and we're going to square off where each of those things is located. Very good. Now, while the board, before we attach anything to it or make any other adjustments to it, this is the last good chance that you have to do any sanding. If you have got routers with round over bits at your disposal, we usually round over the backside with a router so that it's nice and smooth on your hand, but we can just do a pretty good job with a piece of sandpaper. So Ayla, go ahead, and on the back corner, so on the back side, this is the front of our neck, on the back side here, all up and down that edge, let's sand that and make it smooth. Yeah, get the ends too. I've got an idea. Let's put it in your vise. Did I make it a little easier? This workbench was actually my workbench when I was a kid, and I've been blessed to be able to pass it down to my kids. Okay, let's turn it around once and just make sure that we got this other end okay. Okay, is it good, boss?
I think so.
Okay, so you don't need to do anything fancy. You just don't want anybody to get cut or get a sliver on the backside as they are playing the guitar. A 3/16 inch bit and a drill, and we are going to drill a hole right through the middle of the board on that line. Oh, hang on, I got a piece of scrap wood here that we'll put underneath there so we don't drill into the workbench too badly, although it's happened before. Okay, so right in the middle of that line, you want it to go nice and straight up and down. Okay.
Go.
Yeah, go ahead. Okay. Nice. Okay. And then we want to put another hole, a smaller hole for the string to come through down on the other end. Okay, that's good right there. Okay. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we are going to glue down the neck and the saddle with hot glue. You could use wood glue. Actually, it's better to use wood glue, but it takes longer for it to dry. Our goal here is speed. So we're going to put just a little bit of glue on that line, Ayla, and then you're going to take this piece. If you put too much glue on there, it gets kind of fat and chubby and doesn't sit down good. So that's good. And then take this piece and wiggle it down right in that spot. Okay, we're going to do the same thing on the other end for the nut. I'll hold this for you. The distance between the nut and the saddle is a critical dimension in this thing. You want to make sure you take your time and do a good job on getting these guys set at just the right point. Otherwise your string is too long. Sorry, I took your job. Otherwise your string is too long or too short and plays a little bit out of tune. We are going to install our tuner. One washer on, then put the washer through the hole. Okay. Next washer on, and then the wing nut. We get questions all the time about whether you can use something else for a jack plate. You totally can. Actually, this is just here in case you don't have access to any other materials that you could put your jack in. There's all kinds of ways to attach your jack to the guitar that are, and probably a lot of them are better than this. Our goal for this was to give you something that works for not a lot of money. So that, okay. We're going to take this little jack plate, we're going to drill some holes through there and into the end of the wood. This is on the saddle end of the thing.
Can I go?
The tail end, yeah. Go ahead. Okay. Perfect. Take these little teeny tiny screws here. And here she is just putting the jack through the jack plate and then adding the nut to the outside to hold it in place. Okay, now we are going to assemble the pickup coil and glue that down in place. So, Ayla, here's our coil. We got to fish our magnet out of here. Now, Ayla's the person who puts a lot of these magnets in here, so we're undoing all your hard work. Okay. Now remember that magnet is jumpy. You know that, don't you? So take care of that thing. Put it right in the middle of that coil. Okay, just like that. Yep. And I'll hold on to that while you take the hot glue gun, and I want you to put a good puddle of hot glue right about there. And then we are going to take that whole thing and set that right down in that hot glue. Push down good until that holds. So you've done this before. We need to strip just a little bit of wire, like maybe that much wire off the ends of the plastic. Remember why the plastic is on the wire?
To cover so the electricity can't get out.
Yeah, it's to keep the electricity from going weird places. Sure, it's called insulation.
Which nut should I put it in?
Probably a pretty small one. Try the second net. Let's try that one and then see what we get. Oh, too much, so we gotta go smaller.
The second.
That looks good. There you go, that's perfect. Good. Now, you could solder this connection. In fact, it's a really great thing to have a kid solder for their very first soldering job because it's almost impossible to screw it up. To save a little time here today and just to show how simple this can actually be, all we're going to do is take the stripped end of the wire, pass it through the little holes in the ends of the lugs. There's 2 of them on the jack. And then twist the wire back onto itself, kind of like you're twisting a twist tie onto a bag of bread. Do one and then the other. a guitar string on this thing. And this is actually, this truthfully is one of the hardest parts. The big secret here is that it doesn't matter how you get this string to stay on here, as long as it stays on here. There is better and worse ways to do it, but you just kind of fight it. Just kind of fight with it until you get it to stick, and it's going to be okay. So, yikes is right. Okay, take this, and it goes through the back side of the guitar. Right there. Okay, that's pretty good. Now, what I want to do is I want you to take this knife, I'm going to give you a utility knife, and I want you to cut right in the middle of the neck, or sorry, right in the middle of the nut here. We want to kind of carve a little groove. Yep. That's good. Okay, now a little more maybe. Go the other way. We're just trying to put a little groove in the nut here so that the string sits down in there all right.
Good.
We'll go over, that looks great. We'll go over to the other end and we'll kind of do the same thing in the saddle. Now, this is one of the tricks, depending on what you do for your pickup, whether you sink it in, or whether you just glue it on the surface like we have today. You can make these cuts deeper or shallower so that your string is as close to the pickup as possible without it buzzing on the pickup. We don't want to actually strike the pickup or to strike one of the frets. We need to stretch that string. All right, Ayla, so it has to go over there and then it has to go through the eye here. So it has to go through the middle of that thing. Okay, that's good. Okay, now pull it really good and tight, or I'll pull it tight. You put the screwdriver through that hole and then use that screwdriver and twist. And what's going to happen is eventually it's going to start to wrap around. Oop, keep the tip up. There we go. There we go. All right, so you keep tightening it. Keep the tip above the string there. Hear how it's getting higher? Do you hear that? Mm-hmm. Okay, there you go. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
It's a good note. Okay, so no, you gotta hold it there. Hold it there. Now I'm gonna tighten up the back side. Then I'm gonna put I'm gonna tighten up the nut on the back side there a little bit. Okay, take your sting out. And it stays. Awesome. You think this will work? This is an electric guitar? Well, there you have it. In just a little over 25 minutes, although we did stop the clock once, didn't we, Ayla? We had to get the hot glue gun warmed up. We neglected to do that in the beginning. We made this very simple electric guitar in just no time at all. You think it plays?
Yes.
Go turn on the amplifier. We'll plug it in here. We'll let you have a minute to play around with it here. Because this guitar doesn't have any frets, we oftentimes will use a slide, a piece of a glass slide or a piece of metal in order to play these guitars. But it does in fact play. There you go. Wail away. Oh boy, so look out, Carlos Santana, here comes Ayla. Thanks for doing this with me this afternoon, honey. I had a lot of fun with you, and I hope that all of you learned something from watching us this afternoon. This is a pretty easy thing to do. This is a very simple guitar. You could make it a lot more complicated if you wanted to, but that's up to you. Thanks very much for taking the time, and as always, from us at STEMy Stuff, have fun and remember to keep it STEMy.